Hello, friends. Excuse me, I'm still dealing with, COVID and all that. I want to talk to you about something about privacy in the judicial system in the courts. Your privacy and your right to privacy, actually, is protected under the Constitution, but it's not guaranteed. And nobody is required to go out of their way to see to your privacy and protect it at all cost. It's like your own personal safety and security. Yeah, we have law enforcement agencies that go out and help people in need, but until a crime is being committed or has been committed, law enforcement isn't going to come to your rescue. So, that being said, your emotions and feelings and opinions are not protected under the Constitution. They're your choice and your burden to carry. Now, confidentiality has its merit, but when it comes to the courts, I find an alarming amount of assumption on the part of individuals, even attorneys, for God's sake, and judges and law clerks, that our information, our cases are protected under some kind of constitutional privacy clause, and they're not. Your information is not private. Your name, address, birth date, phone number, place of employment, these things are not confidential. No. I bring this up because Lori DeRemer, who is being confirmed for the new Trump administration's Department of Labor secretary, a dipshit of a Democratic senator, wailed on her yesterday at her confirmation hearing, screaming and hollering that she needed to commit to him that she would guarantee that Elon Musk would not have access to the Department of Labor's records because the Department of Labor is currently in litigation under several cases, Department of Labor cases, involving several of Elon Musk's businesses. Now, this is a lot to unpack, and this is why I felt I needed to tell you. I do work for the courts. I work for the state judicial system here in Minnesota. I have been for 12 years. And when he was trying to goad her into guaranteeing that he wouldn't have access, he was actually demanding that she violate so many laws. So we'll start from the beginning. If you are a party to a case in the United States, you have access and are required to have access to every page of every document that is put in and out of those cases. That's why they have evidentiary hearings where both parties show up and determine what evidence they're going to agree to present at trial and what they're going to dispute. And then the judge decides. But it's decided upon all the parties. If you want to have a private conversation with your judicial officer, it's called ex parte communication. It's actually illegal. One form of it anyway. Ex parte can also be requesting of a judicial officer, a judge, that an order be signed or a temporary restraint or you be allowed to file a motion or something. And those things are ex parte because they don't require a hearing necessarily. But ex parte means to circumvent the other party, and you can't do that. You can't go to court and start presenting all kinds of evidence that the other party knows nothing about. It's illegal. It won't happen. That's why evidence is so important, and the chain of evidence is so important. So for this dipshit senator to scream and holler that he wants her to hide and keep everything confidential tells me that he is so grotesquely incompetent that he should not be sitting in a Senate seat. He should be flipping burgers at McDonald's at most. If Elon Musk and his companies are named in lawsuits, which is totally normal, it doesn't matter if you're God and you've incorporated heaven, you are going to be in the middle of litigation somewhere, somehow down the line. It's just the way of things when you own a business, a corporation. And he has many, many, many. And all it takes is one disgruntled dipshit to file a complaint against your corporation. So it's not that Elon Musk is some sinister, evil, nemesis. It means that he is a corporate giant who has a lot of businesses, and, lawsuits are typical. If OSHA goes into one of his businesses and they don't like the pink color of the walls, they wanted a different pink color of the walls, they can, file some kind of complaint and he can dispute it. Okay, so we have no idea what those cases are, but they are not confidential. If you are a party to a case in district court, in your county, in your state, your information is public. If a warrant is out for your arrest, that warrant is public one. Adoption cases, artificial insemination cases, in rare cases, you can get judicial authority to order a case be sealed or made confidential, but hearings are public with very little, very, very rare exception. Even juvenile cases involving juveniles are public to some level. And what I mean by public is public, for us here in the Minnesota Judicial Branch, public one is that you can go online and you can get that information. Public two means you can go into a courthouse onto a public computer in their lobbies and get the information. Anything above that has to fall under certain criteria in order for us to make it a certain level of confidentiality. And even then, they have to decide which parties are going to still be allowed at this level of confidentiality to have access to that case file or that document or whatever. Privacy is protected. You have a right under the Constitution to have privacy, but it's not guaranteed. And I was really, really concerned because we've been hearing a lot on the news of these wackadoodles running around saying horrible things without any evidence, without any data, documentation, witnesses to back up what they're saying. And when you get some dipshit senator screaming that you have to keep your case a secret, let me tell you something. If our government, regardless of what branch, what level, is holding secret court, ex parte meetings with authorities, doing things behind the scenes, behind doors closed, they need to go to jail, and that's not an exaggeration. That's a requirement under the Constitution of the United States. Now, some things require confidentiality. But what's happening with our government is that they've become so corrupt that they abuse the right to determine what's confidential and what's not to protect their dirty little secrets. And that's why Kash Patel has yet to be confirmed. Kash Patel is a wild man. He is a maniac. He is a loose cannon. And he's actually what we need right now in the FBI. And they are stalling his confirmation because they are trying to shred every document. They are trying to dot all their I's and cross all their T's and cover all their asses because they broke law after law after law after law after law. And they are facing treason charges. And they don't want to be caught. And they know that once Kash Patel is confirmed, he's going to take a can of MAP gas and he's going to scorch the earth under their feet when all of the secrets are revealed. So this dipshit senator who was thugging his way through his confirmation questions to Lori DeRemer, our new Secretary of Labor, he was doing it out of fear. He wanted to see if she was corrupt. He wanted to see if he could corrupt her. He wanted to see if she was stupid enough to say that she would keep court cases secret. Court cases aren't secret. It's just like with FOIA, the Freedom of Information. How dare our government demand that they decide what information we get? How dare they block us? How dare they make us pay hundreds of dollars for documents? How dare they dictate what we can and can't have? If something is a matter of national security, first of all, you need to fit a certain scale of criteria to be considered national security. Sensitive, confidential, top secret. You can't just get some stupid ass person in the government to say, hey, I don't want anybody to know about my lollipop binge, so I'm going to make this top secret. You can't do that. There's checks and balances in place. There are judicial orders and process that has to go in place to determine if a document or a case or a person is going to be left confidential. You can't just go up there and say it's confidential. And the reason that people are freaking out nowadays, having kumbaya, sing-along, making s'mores in the parking lots and stuff, is because they don't have the information. And we see this every day in the courts. Even attorneys, law firms, are aghast at what's confidential and what's not. People assume that their information is confidential. They assume if they rate and say, hey, I want my address confidential, that we're going to do that. No, sorry. Doesn't fall under the law. You can request certain information to be confidential, but even the document that you fill out that says you want it confidential says request. And it's up to judicial staff to determine if that information lawfully can be held from the public. We at the judicial branch, any judicial body, is not obligated to protect your privacy. We have a level of expectation that we uphold with regard to security. And there is information that we know, if in the wrong hands, could be harmful or lethal to someone or somebody. So we have a series of checks and balances in place where we study and examine each and every word of each and every page of each and every document that comes in and out of the court, state by state, district by district, county by county, to be sure that someone somewhere down the line didn't accidentally overlook and put a compromising bit of information in a public document. But it is the burden, the onus of the submitter of those pages, of those documents, that is responsible for making sure that there is nothing confidential or sensitive in them. So if you put something sensitive confidential and you send us a 6,000 page document And we don't read every word of every document. We're trained, highly trained scanners. We scan with our eyes. If we miss something and it gets caught, it's on you, not us. Fact. Your divorces, your custodies, your paternities, your civil lawsuits, mechanics liens, personal injuries, implied consents, none of these are private cases. Your information is public. It's out there for anybody to see. And it's becoming more and more accessible because by April of 2026, the Minnesota Judicial Branch has to have all of their ADA technical processes in place so that individuals with disabilities will be able to access the same information as a person that can see and hear and speak. It will be digitally accessible to anybody who is hearing or sight impaired. So, for a senator to browbeat a candidate for Secretary of the Department of Labor into committing to keeping cases secret and private, he is asking her to violate a law punishable, a high treason punishable law on their level. He's asking her to violate the law. He's asking her to manipulate cases. And the gavel should have been pounded when he said that, and he should have been removed from office immediately. And for all of the senators and everybody to sit there and quietly and nobody correct him is alarming at minimum, because that means that none of those people were smart enough to know that they all just sat there complacently by, letting this man harass this woman, bully her into trying to get her to commit, which she did not, of course, commit to breaking the law. And if you're going to go out and you're going to protest against Trump, educate yourself first, because we listen to this nonsense that he's cutting vital programs. No, he's not. He's cutting out the waste, and he's putting a temporary pause on the bullshit. But if your life depends on everybody that's getting Social Security and disability and welfare and so on, they're getting all their stuff every month on target, on track, just like they always are. If you get assistance for medical, you're still getting that assistance for medical. They are not sending people out, locking up doors to buildings, and preventing people from getting services. These people are not doing that. They are exposing and reporting the fraud and the waste, and that's what they're stopping. They're not stopping all the other stuff. Now, with regard to the immigration, I know that there's a very quick lawsuit that came out yesterday. I think the Catholic Church is suing the Trump administration for cutting off their immigration funding. And he has a right to do that under the law, under the Constitution, because he's president, he can do that. But what he cut off was they were financing illegal immigrants to remain housed here in America. And they came through the border illegally, and they are here illegally. And so for us to fund that law breaking is a problem. You know, I get that there's a reason why people want to leave their countries, but the numbers just don't add up to me. And I can't add two and two twice and get the same answer. But not all of these people, if you sit back and think about it, all of these millions and millions of people rushing the gates at either border. Not all of these people are being politically persecuted. If they're circumventing the law, it's because they're not lawful to be here. They don't have what's in place to be here. And they're lawbreakers, and they know that, and they're doing that. And it doesn't matter if you're a mother or a father. It doesn't matter if you're a kind person or you're a hardworking person. It doesn't matter. The majority of serial killers were church-going men with family. They were great providers. They had great jobs. They provided for their wives and their children. They mowed their lawns. They volunteered. But they still killed people. And I get that not every illegal immigrant is a killer. But that's not the point. If your grandma shoplifts from the dollar store, it's still a crime being committed by a grown-ass adult. Unless they have dementia and they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. All right, we got to have some reason there, right? But you get my drift. Crime is black and white. Justice is blind. Meaning if you're accused of a crime, you will not be tried based on the color of your skin, your religion, your gender, any of that. You will be tried on the evidence that points to you as the guilty party. But if you are being accused of a crime, you will know it. You will be served papers. You may even be arrested. You will know. Definitely. So for a senator to sit there and say that he has secret cases, he needs to be investigated immediately. And if he doesn't have secret cases, he's wanting her to withhold trial documents and information from a litigant in a case. That doesn't happen. That's non-existent. That doesn't exist in the judicial world because it's illegal. So when you're listening to the confirmation hearings or you're listening to the writers, step back and think about what they're saying. Parcel it out in your head. Rationalize it a little bit. Maybe, Google some info here and there and kind of get your head around what they're saying. Because it may or may not be true. And just because somebody makes a statement doesn't mean that statement is true. So when these rioters are out there going, Trump is throwing people in the street. Where's your proof? Where's your evidence? Your witnesses? You're a duck. No, I'm not. Well, I said you are, so you are. You can't take this stuff at face value. And that's why I'm listening to these confirmation hearings. These mind-numbing confirmation hearings. Well, some of them aren't. Pam Bondi, man, I was waiting for her to pull out a pair of boxing gloves, man. Because some of those people were attacking her full on gladiator style. And they do it to Kash Patel as well. It's fear. But that senator, and they didn't show his plaque, so I didn't know his name. I knew he was a Democrat. But to say what he did, somebody needs to call him on that. Because he's spreading really bad information. He's getting people to assume that cases are secret, and they're not. It's like all those secret meetings. Remember when the Dems were trying to impeach Trump in his first term? Just another week in the life of our Senate. There was all kinds of hullabaloo about them having all these secret meetings. Well, that's what that was about. You can't have secret meetings. I mean, you can sit down with your attorney, you can meet with your attorney in his office and have private conversations because that information is confidential, it's private between the two of you. But that's to strategize, to coach, to inform, to understand, to get your shit together so that they can give the best defense to you, the best representation of you. But ultimately, they're not in a room with the judge behind closed doors signing orders and creating evidence and doing things that you don't know about. It's just your attorney and their client having private conversations like you and your doctor. And if you choose to divulge whatever your conversations were, that's up to you. But for a senator, this is basic 101 knowledge. For a senator to sit there and bully and press this woman into complying with him wanting to keep cases secret, that is extremely alarming. And I probably picked it up because I do work for the courts, but I realize that so many people are of this assumption that your information is protected and that we that work for the courts are obligated 100% to protect you and your information. No, nope. Nada. If you request a copy of a case, you don't have to, tell them why. If it's a public case, you don't have to give them a reason. Pay them their $14, get your copy. So I think that the message we're getting from both sides of the political chaos at this point in time is to step back, listen carefully to what these individuals are saying, do your research, and realize that some of the things that they're doing are really awful. And they're creating a lot of fear. But when it comes to court and court cases, you are not private. Your information is not private. Court hearings are public forums, just like Senate confirmation hearings. These are public forums. They always have been. They always will be. Because our government is supposed to be transparent. But they've become so secret. They've wielded their power. They have abused their power. Decade after decade, president after president. That it's just assumed that they have all-knowing authority when they do not. So keep in mind if you decide to sue your neighbor over the tree in the yard. Remember, that information is 100% public. Do not assume that we are protecting you because it's not our job. And until next time, do good and be good.